Welcome, everyone, to the Muskie Sports Network for Coffee with Coaches presented by Jennings Java. I'm Tom Caudell, and joining me today is Muskingum head softball coach, Laina Connor. Coach, welcome to Coffee with Coaches.
Thank you.
You know, Coach, we were chatting a little bit before we went on the air here, but if you're looking for that fresh roast experience, it's Jennings Java, JenningsJava.com. Daniel Jennings was a student athlete here at Muskingum, played soccer for us, went on to found the company while he was here on campus. And now him and AJ Kazmierzak, who's also a baseball guy for us, doing great things out of Columbus with Jennings Java. So check out JenningsJava.com for that fresh roast experience. Coach, it's going to be a great opportunity for our fans to get to know you a little bit better. A lot of them remember you as a Muskie back in your playing day and now back into campus here running the softball program. We'll start with just a simple question. Where did you grow up? When did softball first become a love of yours?
Yeah, so I grew up in a very small town, Katanning, Pennsylvania. I grew up getting the opportunity to watch my older sister play softball. So when we were young, we had our 12 or 14 Little League games, and that was it. And she actually, as probably a 12 or 13-year-old, had the dream of becoming a collegiate softball player. Don't even really know how she got it because it just wasn't something that we were exposed to growing up. And so she found out about travel ball and going to clinics at local colleges. And so really just being exposed to the world of softball was very eye-opening whenever I was 8, 9, 10 years old. And so we started playing travel ball in the Pittsburgh area. We were able to get on, rec leagues, fall ball. And so we were pretty much playing softball every day of the week growing up. And it was a lot of fun to learn. So, when she first started travel ball, my dad and I would be sitting at the games. I was 9, 10 years old. We'd be sitting there, discussing why are they bunting in this situation? What's going on? Look at what they did. Look, they did a delay steal while all of the other kids my age were playing on the playground. And so I think that as I look back over my life, this has definitely been something that I've been called to, and I can start putting the pieces together of the signs that kind of showed up for me. I was the only one on my high school team that played travel ball. And so I really started to become passionate about helping the local softball whenever I was in high school and then, in college. So I had a parent, my sister and I umpired Little League games. So I had a parent ask if I would do softball lessons. And I'm like, sure, she's 8, 9 years old. I can't screw her up that much. So I started doing lessons. And then as I was in college, that started growing. And, at one point I was giving lessons to like 16 different little girls in our community. And what's crazy now is they are all searching for colleges. And so I feel very old, but, I kind of had this love for coaching and I didn't realize it as I was growing up.
Well, that's such a great connection with you and your family of how it all started to evolve and now has really evolved here back to Muskingum. When you think back to the high school playing days now, what are some good memories you have from your high school days?
Yeah, so I think what I love most about the high school experience is you get to play with your friends from when you were, in kindergarten. I went to a small school, so legitimately my teammates and I were in kindergarten together and we grew up together. And so it was more about playing for your community and being able to represent your school. And I think that's a really good representation of what it's like to be on a collegiate program as well. So I really just loved that experience. Something that sticks out in my brain is like, we didn't have a field crew. So there were a couple times that we wanted to get our game in and we showed up at the field at 6 a.m. so we could rake so that the field could dry out so we could compete later that day. And then our coaches took us out to breakfast or got us donuts before we went to school. So we were pretty dedicated to trying to have the opportunity to compete. And I think that was pretty special for 16-year-olds. If anyone knows me, I'm not a morning person at all. So softball is pretty much the only reason I'm going to get out of bed in the morning if it's before 7 o'clock. So that was a special one for me.
So at what point in time you start looking at colleges, you want to play at the college level? How did Muskingum get into your wheelhouse to actually eventually be a Muskie?
Yeah, so Coach Hoying at the time, Winters, started recruiting me my junior year. I had never heard of Muskingum, and so I just kind of didn't pay attention to it. I was looking at some universities closer to home, and I was really adamant that I wanted to go into occupational therapy. So I was looking at schools that had that as a program. And thankfully, someone had told me, go shadow. And that's when I realized that was not the path for me whatsoever. And so going into my senior year, I had to kind of start over from scratch. And so I continued getting information about Muskingum and decided, hey, I'm going to go check it out. And the second that I came on campus, I absolutely loved the community, the campus. I felt right at home. My dad always laughs about, like, the second we were here, he told my mom, this is where she's coming. You know, he could just tell, you could see it in my eyes that this was the place that, I wanted to be.
So let's talk about that. You come to the Muskies. I mean, you didn't know much about Muskingum at the beginning. And then once you get on campus, such a storied program, a lot of legacy in this program, going back from Coach Newberry, Coach Winters, Coach Hoying at that times. What was it like being just on that team or within a program that had such a history?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I chose it. I absolutely loved having the opportunity to play for something bigger than myself and just my own accolades. There's a lot of pride in wanting to make the former Muskies proud of where the program was and where it was going. And so I don't think there was ever a day that we put on a jersey that we weren't thinking about how much bigger it was than just us being here in that moment. I really think it's special to look back over the last 30, 40 years of this program and see what it has accomplished. And I'm really excited to continue building on that legacy.
One of the, things that happened while you were a student athlete here, part of the program, is advancing out to the NCAA regional championship. Your sophomore year, such an incredible run for the Muskies. What was that like, being on that team, getting the OAC championship, moving out into the regionals, being a part of the NCAAs again? What was that experience like?
I think what was very special about that team was every single day someone else stepped up. So I wouldn't say we had a lot of super talented players that we relied on. We were consistent and we just fought for each other. It was very unique that no one was about their own accolades or their own individual accomplishments. It was just, what can we do in this moment to advance the runner, to score the runner? You look back at the stats of that team, we weren't stellar in that category, but whenever we created opportunities for ourselves, we took it. And I think that has something that I've carried with me just as a person. Sometimes you're going to make mistakes, or things aren't going to work out the way that you thought that they might, but you take the opportunities that you were given and you make the most of them.
I'll tell you, Laina, I've been around Muskie softball since 2001, and the amount of times that the team finds a way to win games late is like unparalleled. There's that built-in mentality of, like, if we can be down in the seventh, Muskie softball, we find a way to win. When you think back about your career as a Muskie, is there a certain memory or are there moments that really stand out to you?
Whew. I mean, I don't know if there's certain moments that really stand out to me. It's the collective, opportunities to grow, to root on the person that is standing beside you. It really is playing for a bigger purpose than just your own accolades. It's a reason it's a team sport. And I think that this program really shows that in a lot of ways that, if your pitcher's struggling, someone else come up with a hit. Defense, we got to be lights out. And that has just been what this program has been all about.
At what point in time during your college career did you start thinking coaching could be a career path for me? This is something I might want to do after I graduate.
So this one is going to be a little bit of an emotional story for you and for me, but I was a business and marketing major. The plan was to get a business job in Columbus, and I started applying my senior year. And I had senior seminar with Gary Golden, and we had to go over our resume. So he's actually the one that said to me, look at all of this coaching experience that you already have. You've umpired, you've done lessons for all of these years. Why don't you think about a GA position? And, then you can see it, one, if that's something you would enjoy, and two, it'll give you a little bit more time, get your master's. And then if the business world is really what you're thinking about, then it just gives you some more time to make those connections. And so that is really how I got into coaching. And for those that don't know, Gary was a business professor here, and he passed away earlier this year. And I can't help but think about how proud and happy he would be that I'm in this role. And I'm obviously disappointed that he's not here to see it, but he's really the person that helped me. And then when I decided, obviously I went to Coach Winters and she helped me as well, but he's kind of where I started thinking like, wow, I could actually do this. I don't think many people go to college thinking that they're going to become a coach on the other side. And so he's kind of where that all started for me.
I'll tell you, Laina, it is emotional, but the story you just shared, so many Muskies have that same story, that Gary got them in the right direction. He helped them get to that next step. I worked with him pretty closely with a lot of sport administration and athletic communication kids who came through the business route as well. Just an unbelievable man who represented Muskingum. And it was sad to see the day that he did pass away, that Muskingum lost a treasure. That's for sure. Let's take a step away from softball right now, and let's dive into some fun questions.
Okay.
When you think back to how you approach your work every day, who has influenced you the most in that, and what your daily routine is?
Yeah, I don't know if there's one single person that has influenced me more than others. With my experience in the different places that I've been, I think I've been able to really take the bits and pieces from the people I've worked for and worked with to create what I do today. So I really think that Carrie and Coach Winters is a person that showed me how to be extremely passionate about what I'm doing, having some precision and being intentional. Coach Redinger at Westminster taught me all about work-life balance. As a GA, I just coming out of being a student athlete, softball was my life. And I remember the day that she told me, this is my job. I'd go home after this. This is not my life. And I was honestly pretty mad that she said that. I just couldn't wrap my head around that, because at that point in my life, this is what I wanted to do and this is what I wanted to be. But there is, you have to create that balance. And so I'm really thankful that I did learn that from her at an early age, because it's a profession that you could work on 24/7 and never shut it off. And I think that it's important to find that balance. Tiffany Osmond at Denison, she really taught me about my demeanor, how I approach, problems and just addressing the team. I think I learned a lot about myself through watching her and how she worked with our team. And then a few of my colleagues at Juniata, Brendan Grady is the men's soccer coach there, and Glenn DeHaven is the men's volleyball coach. They are wizards when it comes to recruiting and building relationships with recruits. And so I've been able to take a lot of great information from them and what they've done to kind of mold it all together into, the things that I find very important and how I kind of approach and tackle each day.
Well, that's a great foundation of mentors to help build that foundation. And now you're in the part here where you're, obviously you've already been influencing many young women on what's not just going to happen here at the school, but in life beyond the academics. How do you prefer to start your day?
Yeah, so my husband makes me breakfast. And, after we eat, I like to spend a little bit of time playing with our son. And really outside of that, I like to worship on the way to work. So, it's only a short drive for me. I usually get like 2 songs in whenever I'm on the way here, but that really helps me kind of set my intentions for the day and feel some gratitude for what I get to come to work and do every single day.
You mentioned your husband. I mean, everyone's got to know Matt, baseball player here at Muskie. So 2 Muskies finding love here on our campus, which is pretty awesome. And then your son as well, 1-year-old now.
Yes, still not walking.
I tell you, life changes when they start to walk too. I mean, when they crawl, it changes. When they start to walk, it changes. My oldest son just turned 16, so that changed a whole different direction for us. But still, it's great. Maybe we'll have to get Matt to come in and cook breakfast for the department one day.
He's going to be so mad.
What energizes you here at work?
Yeah, really, I think it's growth. The growth that I see in myself, the growth that I see in our athletes on and off the field, the growth of my colleagues. So, it's really exciting to have a conversation, to be a mentor, and then to see it play out in some way in their lives. I think that's why I love coaching. Sure, I love to compete and love to win, but it's the mentorship piece that really hits home for why I love getting to do this.
That's awesome. When you're outside of work, where do you get your energy from?
Definitely my family. I love my family, and I think being a mom is the coolest thing ever. So, yeah.
Well, I tell you, I said my oldest son turned 16 when he was younger. The favorite sport he used to go to was softball games, and he would chase the foul balls. The hard part was getting the foul balls back from him because they're so little, they're just fascinated by it. But that's awesome. What about when you think about your work accomplishments? Is there an accomplishment there that you're really proud of?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I have a specific answer, but I think really just helping athletes realize what they're capable of. So my example is this past year, we had a walk-on student athlete. I didn't know much about her. I gave her the opportunity to try out in the fall, and we moved her to the outfield. She never played outfield before, and she ended up being an all-conference, first-team all-conference player for us this spring. And, she was someone that didn't know if she'd even make the team. And all of the credit goes to her because she was a sponge and she wanted to learn and grow and just be the best that she could be. But helping her realize, what she really could do, I think that was really rewarding.
What's one thing that most people don't know about you?
So growing up, my mom made all my sisters and I be in the band. So I was in marching band and I played the trombone.
Well, that I believe our spirit band is returning here to Muskingum this year. So if we have an opening, maybe you're filling in a spot.
I don't know if anyone wants to hear that. I didn't practice very much.
What's something that you saw recently that made you smile?
So Matt's great grandmother is 105. She'll be 106 in September. Wow. And this summer she decided to try pool for the first time. and turns out she's a pool shark. And so she's someone that just is so positive. She's someone that takes advantage of the opportunities that she has. And she really just tries to make the most out of life. And so anytime she's thriving, it really makes me happy.
Well, I think that would make anybody happy seeing that. I can imagine going in and playing pool against somebody who's 105 years old and getting it taken like that, the shark. Laina, if we're sitting around with some of your friends and I'm talking to them about you, what are 3 words that they would use to describe you?
Yeah. Passionate, I think ambitious, and authentic.
I'll tell you, those are 3 incredible words to have friends describe you. The passion, I think, is there. We talk about a lot in sports about find your passion. Authentic is such a great word that somebody could use to describe you. If we're making a movie now, I mean, this has the making of a movie. You were a student athlete here. You advanced out to some regional championships. Gary Golden got you pointed in the right direction, gave you some great mentoring. And now here you are back here at Muskingum. I mean, this really sounds like a pretty cool movie. Who would we look to play you in this movie?
Yeah, so this answer goes out to a lot of my former teammates. Growing up, people always told me I looked like Dottie Henson from A League of Their Own. So my answer would be Gina Davis. She'd have to play me in my older years, but that's my response.
Gina Davis. All right. We might have to look up Gina Davis and see if she's available for a fall visit here. What about superpowers? If you could have a superpower, what would you want it to be?
I would want to teleport. Bus rides are long. It does snow here, so just being able to spend less time in the car and more time at home with my family, I think that would be incredible.
I'm thinking how great it would be if, like, you teleported on a Friday afternoon and you were right there in Kissimmee, Florida. The next, teams are on the field.
That would be great.
What about, is there a go-to food? Is there one of your favorites out there that's got the weakness for you?
Ice cream.
That's good. I mean, it's got to be tough too with Dairy Dutchess right down the street.
That is. It really is. I've only won once so far, so.
I think the hard part with that is
disciplined.
Yeah, when they kind of close up in November, you got to go through the winter without the double D down there. But ice cream is a weakness for many people. We live in a digital age now. I think COVID's even made it more so of a digital age over the last couple of years. But if you could only have 3 apps on your phone, what are your 3 go-tos?
Instagram, my camera, because I love taking pictures and videos of my son. And honestly, as a softball coach, you have to have the weather app. Got to know what's happening and when the storms are going to roll in.
That is so true. I mean, weather impact. I mean, there's only really 2 sports here now that at Muskingum that get impacted by weather, and it's softball and baseball. And I swear, in the last couple of years, we could have 5 straight days of sun, but on a doubleheader game day, it's the rain day. How many pictures on your phone are pictures of your son?
Oh no, 80%. I don't know. There's a lot. If
you have a bucket list, is there something on it that you still want to check off?
Yeah. So one of my goals, I love to travel, is to get to all 50 states and all of the national parks, which they keep adding. So that's keeps getting out of reach. But I've been to 31 states so far, so we're getting there. But yeah, that's really just trying to travel and see the world, I think is my biggest bucket list item.
That's good. Is there a TV show that you watch? Is there something you binge?
The Office, through and through. I could probably quote all of the episodes. And Parks and Rec's another one that if I've watched The Office, finished that season, I'll go back to watching Parks and Rec because it's pretty funny as well.
I love The Office. I'm a Seinfeld guy too. But I'm starting to realize that nowadays a lot of the students here don't know Seinfeld, so I've got to get more.
We watched that, and that was actually the other day it popped up on, I think, Hulu, and so Matt wants to watch it. So that's going to be our next one. I told him that we'll watch it.
I love the Seinfelds. Let's take it back. Let's bring it back to current time here. How How did your experience? You're a graduate assistant at Westminster, assistant coach at Denison, a head coach at Juniata. How did that all prepare you ultimately for this opportunity here at Muskingum?
Yeah, I think I hit on earlier the things that I've been able to take from other coaches and colleagues. So really, I think my experiences have really helped me shape who I am as a coach. Authentic is something that my friends would describe me as, and that's to me how I approach everything that we do. I don't want to be someone that I'm not, because I don't think that that's sustainable as a coach. So I really think as you mature and you grow, there's a point in your life when you realize who you are, and you just learn to own it and accept it, and stop trying, to be someone else and fitting in just because this is what this person is doing. And so I think that these different experiences has really helped me understand that about myself, which in part I can really dive into, our core values and what we're going to stand for, and being really intentional, I think, is important. And so that to me is how it has prepared me. I trust that I am where I'm supposed to be. And so I talked about the experience with Gary, but there's even more, in my opinion, like miraculous things that have happened in my career that keep pointing me where to go. So Dan Hughes, he's an alum. He came on campus that spring of my senior year. I applied for the Westminster GA position at 11 a.m. and went to a lunch with him at 1. He was great friends with the AD there, and put in a great word for me. Came and watched softball practice for 20 minutes. He didn't need to do that. That was an incredible opportunity that I never in a million years would have thought that happened. When I applied to the Denison position, I wasn't looking to leave Westminster, but Coach Winters called me and told me that position was open. It had already closed. The position was closed whenever I applied. So I thought there was no way that was ever going to be an option. And I ended up getting that position. And so there are just a lot of things that have happened that I can't make it up. And I just really, truly think that this is what I have been called to do. And so I think all of those things just continue to help me trust and believe that this is where I'm supposed to be.
Well, you mentioned Dan Hughes. He's going to be back on campus on September 16th as part of the alumni kind of lecture series. Be great to see, yourself there along with the softball team to hear his story, which is an amazing story. And it's just so great to see how alumni help current students and even alumni, how's it play a whole long magenta line. Once Muskingum moved through, Kerry Winters becomes the interim AD, ultimately becomes the athletic director here at that time, has got to, finish out the season. When you saw the softball job here at Muskingum was going to come open, what kind of thoughts were going through your head?
There's no way that I am qualified. Honestly, this is a dream position for me. This is where I grew and figured out what I was capable of. And so this is home. This is where I met Matt. And, just thinking about having this opportunity was a dream come true, let alone actually being given and granted this opportunity.
So as you were going through the interview process, it starts with a Zoom, you come to campus. How are the emotions, just the nerves of that thing, knowing that this was a dream job?
I wasn't as nervous as I thought I might have been, because I wanted it to be the right fit. That goes back to me just being authentic. I wanted to be the person that would be right for this position to move the program forward. So I wasn't trying to just get the job. I wanted it to be, the right fit for for this department, for the program, and for me.
And ultimately, when you received the offer, that moment in time, what was that like for you?
Unbelievable. If you would have told me my senior year of college that I would be here at this point or ever, I would have never believed you. So it really, Coach Winter said, like, this is a full circle moment. Honestly, I almost transferred my freshman year. And so to know that I stuck it out, I gave it the opportunity, and to see how my life has unfolded since then is really incredible.
Laina, when you look at the softball team right now, what is your vision for the program?
Yeah, respect the past and shape the future. Our tradition isn't going anywhere, and we need to continue building on it. I want to build a program that is ultra competitive, that's in the national standings. And I want to continue growing our athletes on and off the field. So we're dedicated to not just creating winners on the field, but winners at life.
The big question you talk about, the tradition, is Ring of Fire still a song that's played when the game starts?
It has to be. We can't change that one.
That's an awesome song. I love it when it's blaring there at Donna J. Newberry Field. And, the softball program on our campus has such a tremendous reputation of not just what they do on the field, but what they do off the field in the classroom and in the community. The BHWC is on the horizon now. I mean, we're weeks away from the grand opening of that. It's a $30+ million facility, which combines athletics, academics, the community aspect of it as well. How will that building and facility impact the softball program?
Oh, it's going to be incredible. So we will be able to practice and do everything that we need to do to prepare for season right there. Before being in the gym, it was challenging to get the outfielders all of the things that they needed. We can slide, we can dive, we can scrimmage, we can do everything. And so I'm really excited to see how much more prepared our athletes are going to be going into that first week of competition, because other than, the temperature, we're going to be able to play straight up and practice straight up. So that's going to be incredible, let alone the opportunities that it grants our students to get hands-on experience that other institutions are not offering is going to be great.
Well, September 17th is the grand opening. It also coincides with Muskingum's 100th homecoming. So that will be the 16th and 17th will be a pretty busy day here on our campus, but it will be so much fun to see this building up, students partaking in it, the community going through it, and just the impact it will have overall, not just on Muskingum, but in the region as well. If you're a high school softball player right now, or you're a club player, what's the best way for recruits to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so go to fightingmuskies.com, head to the softball page, and you can fill out our recruit form and then shoot me an email. My email address is on the website as well. So once you fill out that recruit form, you can shoot me an email and let me know that you're interested, and then we can get in contact.
That's awesome. Well, Laina, I want to thank you for taking time today to join us here on Coffee with Coaches, presented by Jennings Java, JenningsJava.com for your fresh roast experience. It was great reconnecting with you again. I'm looking forward to seeing the softball team back on campus here in a couple weeks, and then ultimately you taking them through your first season as our head coach.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Go Muskies.